Hey, everybody. All right. We're going to talk about this Kalkaska County Sheriff Department situation here a little bit more. All right. So you can see I went in, I talked with the jail sergeant. I wanted to talk with the sheriff. I've been wanting to talk with the sheriff. He refuses time and time again. Now, I tried to talk to the undersheriff, have requested that he calls me when he has time. Well, it's been several months. It's been since June. Maybe it was July. Uh, End of June, beginning of July. And haven't heard from the undersheriff. So I had spent, I think it was over 2 hours with the jail sergeant. And he had been presented to me as the undersheriff. So this will all be on the recording from the lobby of the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department. All right, now, you see, I explained the law to Sergeant Joe Leach. I explained to him that victims of crime are to be instructed of their constitutional rights. I informed him that I was actually a victim and that the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, along with the state police, the Kalkaska County prosecutor, were the ones that were unlawful. And so they stole from me. They stole a lot. So I'm trying to be reasonable. And so I went back. I went back with a notice and demand. This is a short document, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. Notice and demand. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Under Sheriff Joe Leach. See, I addressed it to Under Sheriff Joe Leach because that's how he had been represented. This goes on. Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department. Mr. Joe Leach, thank you for assisting me with my complaints and receiving of indictments, and also for allowing me the time to explain how I was unconstitutionally arrested, incarcerated, fined, and suffered many other constitutional violations from the Kalkaska Sheriff Department and Kalkaska County. You now have a better understanding of the law of the land, my situation of financial hardship, and the attacks from several government departments and agencies due to my oral health patented breakthrough discoveries for humanity, your responsibility, your oath, and your duty. Yesterday, I asked for you to supply me with guns and ammunition to correct the unconstitutional violations of the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department. As it is the duty of the department to provide safety, and I am safer when I have arms for defense, this is also notice of liability. The sheriff has not made himself available to discuss these matters despite my repeated attempts. As such, as undersheriff, the duty is in your hands now. This is a demand for a corrective action to the specifics of my access to arms and financial hardship, and I'm not going to belabor in details with this notice and demand. For what is righteously mine and for my safety and security, I demand and will accept $25,000 and 2 pistols, one for pocket carry, not a revolver, and one for holster carry, and one over-under shotgun rifle or a shotgun and a rifle to settle these particular specifics as it relates to what was taken by the county departments and the Michigan Policy Police, namely 3 arms, ammunition, 2 vehicles, and cash. Within 24 hours of this notice is your timeline to restore and settle these specifics. All other matters remain open, and to all matters I retain all right to remedy and waive none. You may wish to provide care, as this matter is solely in your hands. One of the people, Prosecutor Ethan D. Dean, with my address. All right. Now, I had gone back to the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department. I have a note on my calendar here, dated Thursday, July 1st. Trespass, Joe Leach, on film. So, I had gone in to have a follow-up conversation, and I happened to have an unlit cigarette. I hand roll. They look like joints. Who cares? So I have an unlit cigarette in my mouth, right? And I'm in the lobby. I'm talking to Leach, and he orders me to take the cigarette out of my mouth. This stupid, ignorant punk. I just spent how many hours? Gave him a stack of papers like this, constitutions. And he's going to order me. Well, he also informed me that he wasn't the undersheriff. Right? So that'll all be on the Sheriff's Department video, audio recording as well. So, anyways, my first meeting, I'll go ahead and take this out. It'll make Mr. Leach real happy. Mr. Leach, I'm taking this cigarette out of my mouth, sir. As if I really give a rat's behind what you think, Mr. Leach. So when I first went in there, I handed a whole stack. Now, I wanted to talk with the sheriff, but I think one of the last papers I handed Mr. Leach was this, 16 pages. Oh, and is there a lot in here about the state police, about the prosecutor, about the attorney. Oh, yeah, but nothing about the sheriff. Definitely the sheriff's department, but I never had any interaction with the sheriff. And his remedy is real simple, too. His remedy is so simple. Remedy shall be had in part by you and a department securing within the county of Kalkaska the people's liberty, privacy, property, and freedom per your oath, the Michigan Constitution, your duty, and my direct order to be carried out in a very public, well-publicized, and well-distributed announcement of the change in department policy to be a constitutional county. Now, how difficult would that be for that man to wipe away all the crimes of his past? Even after I came in and noticed them. Right? I think there's a timeline in there. It's at least, it's a few days anyways. Anyways, I may come back and read this. There's a lot happening right now at the moment with this sheriff situation. But I'm going to tell you, I did go back with this one. All right, so this is to the sheriff, the undersheriff, and the jail sergeant. And I'm going to go ahead and read this one. Hopefully the recording doesn't cut off, but I think I'm coming back for part 4. So if it does cut off, this will be the beginning part of part 4, right? to finish this up. So, notice of liability and demand. Notice to principals, notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice by affidavit. Comes now affidavit, one of the people, as seen in the Michigan Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Michigan Constitution, G. Juris, in this court of record, do make the following claims. All right, we got Article 1, Declarations of Rights, political power. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal benefit, security, and protection. Then, this goes on to say, with this document, I'm asserting my constitutional duty to instruct you and remind you of the people's rights, your oath, your obligations, and represents my constitutional demand for fair and equal treatment. You are further noticed as follows. Georgia, page 180, reference doc, previously submitted, because I gave him a stack of constitutions and the pages were numbered, right? So he can reference Section 8A, right of victims, that in the criminal prosecutions, the victims shall be accorded fairness, dignity, and respect by the officers, employees, and agents of the Commonwealth and its political subdivisions and officers of the courts, and as the General Assembly may define and provide by law, may be accorded rights to a reasonable and appropriate notice, information, restitution, protection, and access to a meaningful role in the criminal justice process. These rights may include, but not be limited to, the following: the right to protection from further harm or reprisal through the imposition of appropriate bail and conditions of release, the right to be treated with respect, dignity, and fairness at all stages of the criminal justice system, the right to address the court at the time of sentence is imposed, the right to receive timely notifications of judicial proceedings, the right to restitution. I got that in bold and underlined. The right to be advised of release from custody or escape of the offender, whether before or after disposition, and the right to confer with the prosecution. This goes on. I believe that the ADA and the NIH have no proof that a root canal tooth is safe, and because of ignored real science in favor of fake science for profit of industry, that there are Nuremberg violations in play. And as I understand the issue, ignorance is not an excuse for any medical provider or authority or news person that plays a role in the acts. And there is 1,000 attorneys pursuing COVID-19 jab and mask mandates. And I believe installing 15 million toxic teeth annually in this country is a Nuremberg violation, and you may wish to provide care. I had the pleasure of meeting with Kalkaska County Jail Sergeant Joe Leach, and he kindly and respectfully engaged to receive my complaints and indictments into the department. He also allowed me the time to explain unconstitutional arrest, incarcerations, fines, and suffering of many other constitutional violations from Kalkaska Sheriff Department, Kalkaska County, and the state of Michigan on free man and free woman. The department should have review from its legal counsel of the lawfulness and have a solid understanding of constitutional common law. My situation of financial hardship and the security concerns and the years of attacks from several government departments and agencies due to my oral health and recently patented breakthrough discoveries for man, woman, and mammals. Your responsibility, your oath, and your duty. The punitive damages and the right to industry that have yet to be addressed will only continue to accumulate with any continued suppression and oppression. I get a quick drink of water. My mouth is dry from all this talking. Actually, I got some coffee here. That's better. I asked politely and righteously to be restored on two specific points. 1, to supply me with guns and ammunition, and 2, cash, to correct the unconstitutional violations of the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, as the items listed are essential for my safety and security. As it is the sworn duty of the department to provide safety and security and uphold the Constitution, it is well understood that I am safer when I have arms for defense and more secure when I can put food in my belly and not being targeted by government oppression, suppression, and attacks, and living in poverty because of said attacks and the lack of said actions of correction and restitution. The sheriff has not yet made himself available to discuss these matters, despite my repeated attempts, and I hope that Patrick J. Whiteford, the Kalkaska County Sheriff, will fulfill his constitutional duty with the same force of impact as was applied unconstitutionally to the free people when he most likely thought he was doing his duty, authorizing arrest and prosecutions of free man and free woman over his years of office, because the American Bar Association has hidden the key of knowledge and subverted our system of law and justice. In the event that the sheriff refuses his constitutional obligations and duty, the responsibility falls to the next in command, and so on down the chain of command. This is a demand for a corrective action for restitution of, to, the specifics of my God-given constitutional guaranteed right and liberty of restitution to my arms and rightful dollars, and relief of the financial hardship imposed forcefully by numerous government agencies, departments, and divisions for over half a decade. I have the constitutional right to restitution of what is righteously mine, and to expect swift action from you based on your position as top law officer in Kalkaska and your sworn duty for the people's safety and security. I demand fair restitution and will accept the following, provided that it is satisfied in full and timely as noticed, within as follows: $25,000, 2 pistols, 1 for pocket carry, 1 for holster carry, 1 over-under shotgun rifle, or a shotgun and a rifle, and ammunition for all, as this will settle these particular specifics in full as it relates to what was taken by the Kalkaska County Department and the Michigan Policy Police, provided all listed items be delivered to me within 24 hours of this notice at my address. Failure to comply with this lawful constitutional demand for fair restitution will result in additional liability claims of purposeful endangerment, maladministration against Kalkaska County and the Kalkaska Sheriff Department, its personnel, and will trigger a financial penalty retroactive to December 15, 2015 of $10,000 per day against the department, Kalkaska, or County of Kalkaska, the state of Michigan, and remain in full force until the date of restitution as described within, or court-ordered common law determination, whichever comes first. I demand that this affidavit be distributed to all under contract with the County of Kalkaska in the state of Michigan as employees within the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department. Please be advised of the suppression clause below, the 24-hour window for transparency, and be confident that I will be holding those named to account per my constitutional duty. Our nation is in jeopardy. The enemy within has caused the frightening subversion to the fundamental principles that founded our nation, and our state of affairs as a nation disgrace to all, especially those who have fought for our freedom and liberty. I am not the dirtbag, low-life, treasonous rat that caused these many attacks. It's my discovery that has the greedy, treasonous rats attacking me and subverting our government. I'm fighting for you, your health, your freedom and liberties, and for all the American people, with righteous indignation, and demand constitutional, fair, and equal treatment for my constitutional rights. The admits below are easier to answer, and as such, the 24-hour time period to answer is reasonable and is urgent due to circumstances. All matters remain open, and to all matters I retain all rights, and to all rights to remedy and waive none. Admit that I am a free man and not under contract with the state or county. Admit that the state nor the county has no contract or title over me and has no authority to administer me, as I have caused no harm to man, woman, or property. Admit the county sheriff's department is under contract with the people through the United States Constitution. Admit the Kalkaska County Sheriff Patrick J. Whiteford was sworn by oath to the United States Constitution. Admit that Kalkaska County Undersheriff David L. Wagner was sworn by oath to the United States Constitution. Admit that Jail Sergeant Joe Leach was sworn by oath to the United States Constitution. Admit that if the named above hold their seat and have not pledged oath to the Constitution of the United States, that they are not in compliance. Admit that if any of the named above hold their seat and have pledged oath to the Constitution of the United States, that they are duty-bound to uphold the people's rights. Admit that the Kalkaska County Sheriff Department and the Michigan State Policy Police, operating as TNT, Traverse Narcotics Team, unconstitutionally seized arms, ammunition, cash, car, and truck from Mr. Ethan Dean in December 2015. Admit that the Kalkaska County Sheriff Department has a higher authority over any and all appointed policy police. Admit the actions of the Kalkaska County Sheriff and the Michigan State Police, or Michigan State Policy Police, violated many constitutional rights of the free man, Mr. Ethan D. Dean, December 2015. Admit that ignorance of the law is no excuse for violating the law, and this position of fact is a firmly established precedent in American legislative law and case history that has been abused on the free man and woman. Admit that Mr. Ethan D. Dean had asked for restitution on June 28, 2021 in these matters listed within when meeting with Jail Sergeant Joe Leach. Admit that Ethan D. Dean was told he would be talking with Undersheriff, yet he met with Jail Sergeant Joe Leach. Admit that Mr. Joe Leach did not introduce himself as Jail Sergeant. Admit that said notice on June 29th was misaddressed to Joe Leach, Undersheriff, yet the demand was constitutionally valid and was received by the department. Admit that said meeting between Jail Sergeant Joe Leach and myself was recorded by the department and also from equipment of Jail Sergeant Joe Leach through and on his person. Admit that Mr. Ethan D. Dean has not been restored in these matters to date as detailed within by any percentage of satisfaction above 0. Admit that on 6/30/2021, Ethan D. Dean provided additional resource information that is posted online YouTube channels for supporting information to constitutional rights, claims, national and international court decisions, validating the lawful power of common law, and the responsibility and duty of the department/service agency. Admit that when a governmental system of lawfulness has failed our Constitution, that the constitutional duty to correct any and all wrongs of said failed system of law exists, and the wrongs that have caused harm to a free man or free woman exist, and to satisfy a constitutional duty or remedy, and to restore policy to a true and just lawful enforcement of the law, regardless it be legislative law or the highest authority law, the common law of the land is required. This is an affidavit, contract, and change of terms. Any man or woman who denies these claims are true must rebuke them under penalty of perjury in the form of a sworn affidavit. Any man or woman who decides to suppress this affidavit agrees to pay $30,000, and any disputes by any public officials or private actors who are bound by contract to the Michigan Constitution or the United States Constitution within the United States agrees to have these matters heard before an arbitrator of my choice and be bound thereby. Any man or woman denying these claims are true must rebuke these claims point by point within 1 day or 24 hours. Failure to respond means that by acquiescence you agree that all claims are true. Failing to respond with constitutionally granted authority, which gave you the power to disregard the rights of the people mentioned within this affidavit and contract, means that you agree to have this affidavit used as evidence of constitutional rights violations, maladministration, and constitutional common law retroactive financial penalty. You further agree that once the 1-day time period has expired, this affidavit becomes truth and law, and that all matters must be considered adjudged, and that no court has jurisdiction to rehear these matters, and that the witness and all additional witnesses against you and the department, county, and state shall be considered sufficient for conviction. Remedy shall be had in restitution for Mr. Ethan D. Dean with arms, ammunition, and cash as described herein within the 24-hour period. All issues of notice matters remain open, and to all matters I retain all rights and all rights to remedy and waive none. So the undersheriff and the jail sergeant have been noticed that if the sheriff doesn't do his duty, it's their job to do their duty, which I think that would mean arresting the sheriff. So if these two losers haven't resigned, because if the sheriff had been arrested, I think I'd have heard about it. If they haven't resigned, oh man, I just pray for their souls. So the sheriff has the arrest order. Top of the list, Gretchen Whitmer. Whitmer was an associate attorney at a law firm before becoming governor. This means to me that Governor Whitmer is an attorney, perfectly capable of understanding the paperwork that came her way, unrebuted. So now, court has been held. Now we need the jury verdict for sentencing and for restitution. All right. I'm not sure what else I want to say right now. This is part 3. These goings on are not going away. We're coming. All right, this is Thanksgiving evening. I give thanks to be able to make this recording, share this information with you people, to fight for everybody's health, everybody's freedom. So I am discussing personal issues with the Sheriff Department because I have them and nobody else is going to do it for me. However, I am fighting for every one of you, every day, with every fiber of my being. Not just for you, but for your posterity. That means your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great, right? Your posterity. You and your posterity. All right, people, we're going to live free. We're going to be happy. There's going to be a big party. All right, so I'm going to say God bless you all. I love you all. Take care. Peace out. See you next time.